President Trump has everyone laughing at the Democrats as they prolong their phony baloney Schumer shutdown. You know, the government shutdown we're all dealing with. But the fake news media, they're not in on the joke. Plus, the president has been so successful in stopping the flow of drugs across the border, even cartel bosses are admitting it. And Lahore, Vagistan. No, that's not the name of a tiny country where illegals are being deported to. Not a strange city in a far-off land. No, not the name of an adult film actress, not by a long shot. It's the name of Harvard University's latest hire, teaching classes at Harvard. And all that and a whole lot more coming up in this hour. But first, all-stars of the Trump administration traveled to Memphis, Tennessee, a Democrat-run city that has naturally been plagued by lots and lots of violent crime, to rally law enforcement as part of the president's effort to make America safe again. Seems like a good idea. The administration hopes that the presence of the National Guard there will be as successful as it has been, cleaning up Memphis, as it has been in Washington, D.C., Different city here. The Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, telling the local police that the Trump administration is behind them 100%.
We're not here to second guess you. We're here to have your back, to unleash you to do your job so you come home safely. Our department is here to enable you, law enforcement, to do your job, to help protect your facilities, help protect your people so that your hands can be untied to secure your city.
White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says it's a whole new era for the city of Memphis and for the country.
To the Memphis Police Department, to the officers that I see sitting in front of me, we are about to provide you with a level of support you cannot even imagine. The idea that there is a square inch of block in this city where a citizen doesn't feel safe is unacceptable. This is Memphis, this is the United States of America, and all that is done. It's over, it's finished.
Such language. We are here with tonight's squad. Let's jump right in. And Mercy, I know you don't talk like that, but...
Well, I've worked with Stephen Miller in the first Trump administration. I don't think I ever really heard him curse, so that he is pissed, okay? But I got to tell you, the people in Memphis, they should be pissed off too, because there should be no... we should not be allowing for just the crime rates to continue to grow in these blue cities. And I think the fact that the administration is using what I think is a creative tactic of bringing in the National Guard, of providing support for the law enforcement, and letting them know we've got your back and we're going to help you succeed in these cities and really help the residents. I think it's an important step to take. And now we have the proof that it works. It worked in Washington, D.C., and I think we can see substantial improvement in reducing crime rates in places like Memphis.
Alex Sawyer, what are we seeing? What are we watching happen? Is it, are we fighting crime and reducing crime? And why are the Democrats not against reducing crime?
Well,
or not for reducing crime, I apologize.
They should have taken note from D.C. and actually D.C.'s mayor, who I thought was actually more positive as things went along with President Trump and being more willing to work with him over time, especially when seeing results. If Washington, D.C. can go weeks without seeing a murder, then the same should be said for Memphis. I mean, it tops the list, like multiple lists of the city with the most violent crime. I also looked, and apparently there's at least, I think, like 30,000 illegals supposedly in the county, and given that we're seeing ICE go in as well, I think that would be a smart target, especially to eliminate violent crime. One of the things I also saw is that we're looking at other cities, and there's some court challenges. You know, these blue states love to go to court over whatever the president's doing, and I know Mike is an expert on that. How does that play out? Like, I mean, are we talking, do they have to point to, again, the Insurrection Act? Like, hey, you know, you're not enforcing federal law, you're not deporting these people, so we're going to come in and do it for you? Is that how that works?
President Trump campaigned on the fact that he is going to secure our border. He's going to expel illegal aliens, particularly vicious Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists, and he's going to clean up crime in these third world Marxist hellholes like Memphis. And he's doing exactly what he promised American voters he would do. He has the power to do that as the commander-in-chief and he has the power to do that as the chief executive officer.
And is it working?
It seems to be working in Washington, D.C. I can actually leave my house in Washington, D.C. and not worry about getting carjacked. So.
And you live in a city that
Or
can go
killed.
either way a lot of the time.
Yeah.
In a part of the city that can go either way.
It's a rough neighborhood,
Yeah.
but it's a lot less rough now that Jeanine Pirro is locking up criminals instead of coddling them.
Imagine that. You know, the mayor of another Democrat-run crime-ridden city where violent crime runs rampant and the Democrats seem to be okay with it. Certainly not a fan of cleaning up her city streets. Here's Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, former member of the House of Representatives. Here's who she thinks is killing people on the city streets.
So what that is saying is that the President of the United States wants to turn the U.S. military against the American people and to tell law enforcement that they are now unleashed and they can use their guns is essentially saying go in primarily inner city communities and shoot people.
Now, Jason, is that the message from Washington that the police should use their guns to shoot? Now, they already have guns. I think last week they had guns and the LAPD. And is that the instruction that the government's coming and they're going to shoot people in the streets of Los Angeles?
Well, first of all, I think some language does matter, and the language that they've used, like unleashed and using it, telling the military that we're going to use American streets as training grounds, I think is dangerous. And I think that's what she's pointing out. Whether she was being hyperbolic or not, we'll let the audience decide. But the really point is, you have to be careful when you are using this kind of language, even going back to some of the things that have happened in the past. When you start saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts, there are people who said that Donald Trump said to shoot protesters. I think
there are people who said that Donald Trump said
if I'm
that?
not mistaken, it was Mark Esper, pretty staunch Republican who was
not a fan
who was
of Donald
brought-
Trump, hated Donald Trump,
Yeah,
so I
well,
wouldn't
now
take
he's not a fan. Now
I
he's
wouldn't
not a
take
fan.
what he would
now
say.
he's not a fan of Donald Trump, but he was also appointed by Donald
But you're
Trump
taking
and served
something
as
that the
his
president did not
Secretary
say.
of Defense.
When you have a mayor telling her residents that the military is going to come in and shoot them, law enforcement is going to come in and shoot them, like what type of rhetoric does that do? Doesn't that put a mark on these like law enforcement officers going in there? I mean, that's just using rhetoric that's going to cause more violence.
It's irresponsible rhetoric
I would say
coming
that-
from the mayor.
Go ahead.
It is irresponsible rhetoric coming from the mayor. And I got to tell you, it's really the Democrats who continue to demonize law enforcement. They have made ICE, for example, an enemy. Like they have really pointed them out of being, Gestapo, slave patrol. It is completely uncalled for to watch the Democrats, how they have tried to demonize our law enforcement, demonize ICE, when they are simply trying to do their job.
So let me ask you this. When Pete Hegseth gives a speech and says that the Secretary or the Department of War is about war fighting, going in, hurting people and breaking things, and then the president says, well, we're going to use American cities as a training ground, then what should American citizens extrapolate
take out the
from
criminals, take out the drug cartels, take out the gang members. Yes, we're at war
we
with
should
the
not
gang.
fight wars against
we
American
are at
citizens.
war with the drug
I think
cartels.
that's
You
the
think
point.
the
We're not
drug
fighting.
cartels are American citizens? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm
Is the
saying
trend there Aragua?
these aren't American
citizens?
streets and
No,
American
I'm
citizens
sorry.
are on American
They have
streets.
no right to be in our country. These gang members should be deported and, quite frankly, if not thrown into jail.
The Democrats hadn't opened up the borders for years and allowed tens of millions of illegals to flow in, including apparently the entire Tren de Aragua gang out of Venezuela and MS-13 up the yin-yang, honestly.
And superintendents, we found out.
And maybe Democrats should stop shooting people in Los Angeles and shooting people in Washington, D.C., and shooting people in Chicago and shooting people in Baltimore. And maybe the Democrat political leadership should enforce the law and make their cities safer, and they scoff at you and attack you for coming in to reduce the number of murders, as has happened in Washington, D.C., then, and by the way, the Democrats are out there shooting the Charlie Kirks, and they shot Donald Trump, and they shot Congressman Steve Scalise, and they're shooting enough people. You shouldn't worry about the
Charlie
police.
Kirk wasn't shot by a Democrat.
Oh, really?
Neither was Donald Trump. So,
This is what we get. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you get. That's
That's
exactly
what you get. Okay.
No, I would say this. Do these Democrat politicians, do these Democrat mayors, do they want their poor, oftentimes black residents to be gunned down on the streets? Because They want to be against President Trump. They want to be against law enforcement. They want to defund the police. They want Tren de Aragua raping and murdering their women, their children. I mean, is that what the Democrat Party is now, the party of crime and chaos?
Well, I wouldn't say now. It's not new necessarily, but it certainly is the way they're identifying today. Those are their pronouns, I think. A city council member in the leftist paradise of Portland, Oregon, which used to be fun, Portlandia and all that, is now advising her constituents on how to protect themselves, but not from Antifa thugs tearing up the city.
If you're going to regularly protest, I also highly recommend going to your local grocery store, buying a burner phone in cash, and using encrypted apps like Signal to communicate with people and having disappearing messages on. You should attend protests with people you know and trust, and you should have someone trusted at home who has everyone's insurance information, everyone's job information, and is acting as jail support in case anything happens to their friends. I believe that we will win, but we have to be smarter and we have to be better organized than our opposition because they have every tool available to them and we do not.
I believe that we will win, but we have to be smarter and apparently more violent and aggressive than their opposition. And she is the mayor of Portland, Oregon, and she goes by they, them pronouns. What could go, excuse me, city council, I apologize.
Yeah, no, look, I think it shows who is a city council member representing. Are they representing, the people, the citizens that voted her in, or is she basically saying, we're going to support the criminals? And I think this is why the Democrat Party continues to lose the narrative. They lose on the messaging war because they are so extreme that any common sense American would be like, she's nuts. She's nuts. She's crazy. She doesn't even know who she is. Well, it depends on the day or the hour, for that matter.
My favorite is I Googled her just to kind of learn a little bit, and so that's when I discovered, her, what she does. And she doesn't. I was like, she's giving out legal advice to people. She doesn't have a law degree, so that was one thing. I thought, don't take legal advice from someone who's not a lawyer. And then the other thing is that she has a big following on TikTok. I think it's like 29,000. That's where, that's the other news is don't get your legal advice from TikTok, which is, I guess, how she got elected.
Seems like good advice. I think while other leftist cities, so many of them, run amok with crime, violent crime in particular, because Democrats. New York is about to come up with the perfect solution. Listen to this. Electing a communist to become the mayor of the city there. President Trump posting on Truth Social this morning. The best thing that could happen to the Republican Party, a communist mayor in New York City. The Dems have gone stone cold crazy. And I think that's generous.
Yeah, I wonder what the New York voters think is going to happen in New York when you elect a communist and all the people with money leave and all the businesses leave. It's going to turn into a dystopian hellhole in New York City.
Yeah.
And people are going to flee, all that, most successful people are going to flee and all that. Now, Jason, you know that he was on the television on The View yesterday, another hard-hitting interview, or a tongue bath, one or the other. And they asked him, are you a communist? And he said, no, I'm a democratic socialist, which means I believe in the dignity of all people, because that's what socialism has proven over the last 100 years.
Can you tell me the difference between communism and socialism?
Sure. How much time do you have?
I got 30 seconds. And I can tell you the difference between communism and socialism, and I can tell you that they are not the same thing. He is someone who believes in democratic socialism. And again, the citizens of New York seem to want him. We live in a representative democracy, so they want him. And so it shouldn't matter what people outside of New York want. It's about what they want.
That's true.
And
that's
so
fair.
if rich people leave, which I don't believe they're going to do, they've threatened that before, and they never end up leaving. So we'll see what happens if they're going to leave Wall Street and all of the advantages that you have from living in New York City.
It was Lenin, their boy Lenin, that said the goal of socialism is communism. And there's a great old saying, the difference between socialism and communism is 5 years.
Right. Socialism, malo. Communism, muy malo. Okay, still ahead, Kash Patel is cleaning house and getting rid of a partnership with a radical group that was created by his disgraced predecessor, James Swifty Comey. But first, it was sombreros, and then it was Trump 2028 hats. But President Trump is never short on hilarious ways to troll the Democrats for shutting down the government. We'll show you his latest one next.
From the moment Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, Newsmax was there.
We have some major breaking news. Israel launches strikes, preemptive strikes, almost 4 in the morning.
Israel has decided enough's enough.
What happened tonight was inevitable.
Something just caught my attention it sounds like afterburners overhead.
Multiple explosions across the capital, Tehran.
I'm in a shelter now. There's 6 of us.
On Truth Social this morning, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. Now we all expect the Democrats to get all bent out of shape over the president's post, but even fake news CNN fell for his latest troll, devoting a segment with an on-screen graphic about Trump saying he had nothing to do with Project 2025. Speaking of viewership, challenged CNN, the White House also mocking Hakeem Jeffries over his live stream on YouTube, trying to blame the shutdown on Republicans. Politico commenting that at times just a few dozen viewers were watching the YouTube stream, making it an almost instant joke among Republicans and a source of embarrassment among Democrats. The White House posting crying, laughing emojis over the lack of viewers. Jason, I got to ask you, were you watching Hakeem Jeffries' live stream? Were you one of the dozen?
No, and, I've been frustrated with a lot of, what Hakeem Jeffries has done.
Yeah.
So we'll see, in terms of this being a Democratic shutdown when Republicans control all of government and the judiciary, but we won't even talk about that. But they control all of government, but somehow it's the Democrat shutdown. Seems a little strange. And I think that Republicans, we'll see how this works out for them in Virginia, where, if they start cutting all of these government jobs and there's an election in about 5 weeks to determine the governor of that state, we'll see how Winsome Sears actually feels about what's going on. So I think there could be some drawbacks for Republicans. I'm sure they're gloating and sticking their chests out right now and laughing about Americans losing their livelihoods and their jobs. But we'll see how it works out in the long run.
Chris, let me make this very clear. A clean CR, that's all they needed to do. A clean continuing resolution. They didn't do it. The Democrats are demanding the $1.5 trillion of these ridiculous add-ons in terms of giving free health care to illegal aliens that the Americans don't want, and funding the woke media. So walk me through, why would the Democrats want to do this, besides being pressured by the Soros leftist groups?
Well, this is the Schumer shutdown, of course, and Schumer is shaking down America. He's got a gun to the head of the baby. He's pulled the hammer back. He's threatening to pull the trigger, and he's demanding, as you said, more than $1 trillion in Democrat Party goodies, because he knows that 95% of the news media is working for him like they picked him up on a street corner and they're paying him cash. And it's good to be a Democrat when it comes to that, but this is Schumer all the way. And it's classic and typical Schumer, for that matter. They believe that they can get away with it because the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN and ABC and CBS and NBC all go along with the big lie, as one of their forebears described it.
They should add a sombrero to Chuck Schumer's head. That's all I'm saying. Okay, White House, are you listening to me? Put the sombrero, big one, okay, on Chuck Schumer's head. Okay, you'll find it hard to find anyone who thinks Chuck Schumer is funny, but add the sombrero and it'll be super funny. But the Senate Minority Leader did manage to get some laughs while speaking on the Senate floor and making this claim.
Now, I know the leader is going to show a poll that says that Democrats will be blamed for the shutdown. There are many more polls that show Republicans are blamed. The question in that poll is biased. Biased. In the New York Times, but it's biased. If you turn the That's true. I don't always believe the New York Times. You can be sure of that. Neither do you.
Alex, you can't make this up.
I loved it. When you heard all the laughter from the Republican side of the chamber, it was perfect. And, it makes it even better that he's the New York senator, right? Calling out his home state paper, it's great. A couple other things I loved. a poor Politico reporter had to sit, and he tweeted that he watched 14 hours of the Democrat live stream and that it often drew fewer than 100 viewers. 14 hours? I hope he's paid well. And he noted that the problem is that it was just falling flat, and he said that's just emblematic of the Democrat messaging right now. And it begs to wonder, like, what do they think they're going to get from the shutdown?
Maybe raise money from their liberal base, but they're going to fail.
ACA subsidies that are going to go.
No, it's because AOC and all the crazy leftists are holding the Democrat Party hostage. But I want to get
lots of MAGA people are going to lose, or their health care costs are going to go up by about double. It's going to go up double because of these subsidies, and they're trying to save it for all Americans, not just
save it for giving
all illegal aliens.
Making sure that illegal aliens are.
Can I say this?
Yes, please.
I'd never give Democrats credit, but I do want to give Democrats credit here. They are really delivering for their illegal alien voter base with their shutdown.
You're an attorney.
$1 trillion.
You know doggone well,
in healthcare to the illegal aliens. That is really fighting for their voter base.
You know doggone well that federal law, because you are a lawyer, you know federal law does not allow for undocumented people to be a part of the ACA marketplace or Medicaid. So therefore, I'm not sure where you're coming up with this.
Jason,
you just kind of make this stuff up.
Does federal law also prevent illegal aliens from being in our country?
Federal law prevents them from being able to take part in the ACA marketplace. We know that. So the idea
why are we shutting down the government? If it's already illegal, they shouldn't shut down the government for illegal.
In the government for something that they can't legally do.
We're not asking them to buy anything. We just put them on Medicaid.
If it's illegal, then we don't need to shut down the government.
Let me jump in here.
Because that's not what it's about. Because it's about ACA subsidies for people from your state and my state. That's what it's for.
Okay. Well, everyone is joining in on the fun after President Trump posted an AI video of Hakeem Jeffries with a sombrero. We're back with the sombrero. Texas Senator Ted Cruz says the 44 Democrats who voted for Schumer's shutdown should know that the sombrero posting will continue until they reopen our government. While posting an AI video of all 44 in sombreros, the White House mocking Chuck Schumer with a photo of him in a wiener costume. But the Trump War Room thinks Schumer should have a sombrero too. Oh, good. This is great. A MAGA one. And they could probably sell that for a lot of money. Everyone is wearing a sombrero. Even the right squad is joining in the fun. Okay, I love it. Yes, we are in this. But let me tell you, how brilliant has it been, Chris, that they've been able to truly be able to make fun of this whole situation of like the idiots of the Democrats shutting down this government.
It also demonstrates how little fun the Democrats are and how humorless they are. And Hakeem Jeffries has been classically humorless. And Schumer, the Lizard King, he is always perfectly humorless. Also, it should be pointed out, since they're asking for another trillion or $1.2 trillion to line the pockets of their political allies, that when Chuck Schumer was first elected to the House of Representatives before he went to the Senate, he was sworn in as a House member in 1981. The national debt was $998 billion, below $1 trillion. Now it's $37 trillion and at 0.5. And you know what Schumer wants? He wants more, like a gangster.
Yeah, I think that when you started talking, you said that it just shows the Democratic Party isn't having fun, and that's part of their messaging problem. It's falling flat, as I noted. The Politico reporter talked about how he had watched 14 hours of it. I mean, Lord have mercy. Hopefully he gets some of that NPR money his way. Coming up, President Trump sets his sights on drug cartels. And one top drug lord is admitting the president is bad for his business. That's next.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Leg and Back Pain Relief for pain-related symptoms of sciatica.
Your sciatic nerve pain is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Leg and Back Pain Relief Cream. It provided me with the only relief for my sciatica.
Available at your local retailer.
How does the world's most trusted dog expert keep his own dog so healthy?
Hi, I am Cesar Milan. In my 20 years rehabilitating dogs, I've seen too many struggle with health problems that no amount of training could fix. Then I discovered it wasn't the dog, it was their food. Fortunately, I found veterinarian Dr. Marty's anti-kibble breakthrough.
Nature's Blend is packed with whole foods that are freeze-dried, locking in nutrients.
I saw remarkable improvements in my dogs within weeks.
Try Dr. Marty risk-free for 90 days. Plus, get a free gift when you call or visit drmartypets.com/Caesar.
For plant-based?
Yes. Yes. But it's becoming more difficult, you think? Yeah.
Tonight's red-hot video, a senior leader for the deadly Mexican Sinaloa cartel admitting to CNN that President Trump is hurting criminal operations with his border and drug crackdown. We've already seen a big impact, pun intended, on drug smuggling boats in Venezuela, and now they are feeling the heat in Mexico. This, as the New York Times reports today, the president is determining the U.S. is a informal armed conflict with drug cartels, telling several congressional committees in a confidential notice this week. That video should be a political advertisement for the White House, and I'm wondering why they haven't tweeted it out yet.
Which part? The blowing up part? I've seen so many of these videos out there. Let me tell you, these drug cartels, they are getting the message. They know that the administration is on to them.
The CNN video, right? The interview.
First of all, can I ask you a question?
Exactly.
Like, why is CNN interviewing the drug cartel member instead of saying, hey, FBI, can you come over and pick up this guy, and throw him into jail? Seriously, do we need to have him on the streets? It's very clear that the drug cartels are having this complete.
And it was very interesting to me that he talked about how it used to be like $6,500 to smuggle someone. Now he has to charge $10,000 because of how difficult it is, Chris.
Well, I wonder if Gavin Newsom is upset that the leader of the Sinaloa cartel is wearing a mask. You know how upset he gets when law enforcement wear masks. And they wear masks because guys like that are out there with armies of killers. I think CNN was meeting up with them they get a discount. They get a good bag of drugs for a reasonable price. They're negotiating, and it's much better when you hang out with the guys that you're buying the drugs from. Look, these guys are really, really bad guys. They kill these cartels. Sinaloa cartel, I'm sure, is responsible for killing 100,000 people, a couple 100,000 people. They mutilate bodies. They leave them hanging upside down under bridges. They destroy the world. And you have to fight them like it's a Tom Clancy movie because these are real bad guys. And honestly, because Trump is against them, it wouldn't surprise me to see the CNN and New York Times people saddle up with the Sinaloa cartel.
Also, interesting news from DHS advisor Corey Lewandowski, more on ICE. He says Puerto Rican ICE-hating singer Bad Bunny will have some extra guests when he performs the halftime show at the upcoming Super Bowl.
Will ICE have enforcement at the Super Bowl for the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show?
Benny, there is nowhere that you can provide safe haven to people who are in this country illegally, not the Super Bowl and nowhere else. We will find you. We will apprehend you. We will put you in a detention facility and we will deport you. So know that that is a very real situation under this administration.
And former NASCAR driver Danica Patrick weighing in, saying, "Oh, fun, no songs in English should not be allowed at one of America's highest-rated television events." A reminder, Bad Bunny is an outspoken critic of ICE and the president. Okay, I had to admit, I am not cool, so I had no idea who this was, Jason. But the fact that this is like...
And who introduced you to Bad Bunny?
Thank you, Mercy.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were in makeup dancing.
Jason and I are cool.
Okay,
somewhat.
So Jason, it's, America's pastime, it's football, and we're going to have the halftime performance in Spanish? Is that what your party wants?
So first of all, I would say, our producer Chris would tell you that America's pastime is still baseball.
Okay, whatever.
But,
I'm not a sports expert, please.
Is the most watched event in America, and I think music is a universal language. This is why, do you think Donald Trump can translate Ave Maria? Probably not. I'd
like to hear him sing it.
And again, I would not. But I would tell you, again, music is a universal language. There are people who do not speak Spanish who still enjoy Bad Bunny's music. So the fact that he's going to sing, and, I can tell you I can enjoy Bad Bunny's music just like I would enjoy watching Danica Patrick lose another race at NASCAR, which she's never actually won a race. So, I think it would be interesting. And I'm glad you brought that name up. I would not have remembered who Danica Patrick was.
Well, I knew who that was. I did not know who Bad Bunny was. But meanwhile, a Des Moines, Iowa public school superintendent who just happens to be an illegal alien and was detained by immigration authorities submitted his resignation to focus on challenging his looming deportation. Ian Roberts, a native of Guyana and former Olympic runner, tried to evade arrest, has prior weapons charges, and was in possession of a loaded handgun at the time of his arrest. So is this, Mike, I know you're from Des Moines.
Yeah.
Is this who you want running your school system?
Yeah, I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, and both of my parents retired from the Des Moines public schools. My sister works in the Des Moines public schools now. This is truly a disgrace that the school board in Des Moines did not properly vet this guy. He's an illegal alien. He got caught with a bunch of cash and a gun. He's a criminal. They need to get him the hell out of our country, and they need to hold the Des Moines public school people accountable for this.
And ironically, he couldn't run away, even though he's an Olympic runner.
Oh.
Well, he came in
a lot of people
in the Olympics.
Coming up, it's the end of disgraced FBI Director James Comey's Eras Tour with the Anti-Defamation League. FBI Director Kash Patel severs ties with the organization. We'll explain why next. Turning Point USA as extremist. After receiving backlash, ADL went on to scrap their entire glossary of extremism. Regardless, FBI Director Kash Patel is cutting ties with a group that the Bureau forged under disgraced FBI Director James Comey, writing on X. James Comey wrote love letters to the ADL and embedded FBI agents with them, a group that ran disgraced ops spying on Americans. That era is over. This FBI won't partner with political fronts masquerading as watchdogs. Jason, I would love to get your take on the FBI teaming up with this left-wing group to target Americans.
So, you know, I've had a lot of issues with the FBI historically. I've never been a huge fan of the organization going back to its founding and its founder. And the ADL, you know, has been hit and miss for a long time as well. They've made some, I think, poor decisions, and they've made some good decisions. So, you know, in terms of those two teaming up, I guess we'll have to see what fruit that bears, and if it actually would be something that is positive for America. But I would say in the, or at least you're saying Kash Patel is saying that they will no longer team up. Sorry. Yeah. So, I think them cutting ties is fine. I think the FBI should do the FBI's job, and the ADL does something very different. So I'm okay
I love
with
it.
them.
Jason's praising Kash.
Well,
Yeah, I know. I'm not. Whoa. Let me be clear. Kash Patel has been a disaster, and since you mentioned Charlie Kirk, he was a disaster in the investigation of Charlie Kirk's murder.
Well,
so
that's actually not fair, because
I think it's very fair.
Actually smoked out this guy by putting his name out there. His father convinced him to come forward.
He put other people's names out there too. It was
actually a pretty smart move by Kash Patel, and it got this crime resolved pretty quickly.
I don't know. Kash Patel is going after the bad guys as opposed to James Comey, who literally went after every single Republican, conservative, and President Trump. I mean, and Hillary Clinton for that matter. But I got to tell you, it just shows that the deep state, it's so disgusting what we have seen, what they have done to pollute the FBI, to make it into this corrupt institution, to then have to learn that they were associated with the ADL that has a center on extremism, and what were they pushing always to do as well? It was about online censorship. They went after Elon Musk on X. They were pushing for the boycotts, advertiser boycotts against Elon Musk. It just shows, they remind me a lot of what the Southern Poverty Law Center pushes, which is they have that list of all these conservative groups, and then they go after them. And it just shows how the FBI in and of itself has lost its way by becoming this political machine to go after the Catholics, go after the parents, and obviously now going after a Turning Point.
And also I saw that ADL had a deleted tweet from 2019 where it said that the Turning Point USA is a right-wing student group whose leaders and activists have made multiple racist or bigoted comments, and then also said it's been linked to extremists. I'm sorry, but this is the exact type of rhetoric that caused Charlie Kirk's assassination. This allegation that he was racist or a bigot. and that the members of this organization are, that is the rhetoric that is, it's a problem. So I'm happy to see the FBI separate.
You know that Antifa,
it should have a long time
not even
ago.
Antifa or Code Pink, they're not on the ADL's list, but Turning Point is.
Well, again, it should be pointed out that the Anti-Defamation League was taken over by an Obama administration official named Jonathan Greenblatt. And I would say at that moment, it really leapt far to the left and became extremely politically activist. And again, Turning Point is an extremist group. And then the leader is shot and killed by an assassin. The Southern Poverty Law Center you mentioned, one of the people they targeted and demonized was Congressman Steve Scalise, who was shot and nearly killed by a Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer, James Hodgkinson, who wanted to murder the entire baseball team of Republican members of the House and the Senate. And that was a one-day story in the news media, by the way. But these left-wing groups that are treated as though they're legitimate, like the Southern Poverty Law Center, by our fake news media, and then the violence happens at their behest, and that never comes home to roost for them.
Right.
Okay, that must have been before Steve Scalise went to that white nationalist conference. Coming up, Harvard is in hot water with the Trump administration and hot with the Trump administration regarding alleged anti-Semitism and DEI issues. Now Harvard has hired a professor, Dr. Kabchandani, also a drag queen known as Lahore Vagistan, to teach classes on RuPaul's drag race and queer ethnography at the university. Now, Mercy, can you tell me what ethnography is?
No, I can't, but I will tell you. No, stop.
I'm just interested.
I know you're trying to change the topic.
No, I'm interested.
We're
criticizing.
Do you agree with Lahore?
Well, we're criticizing Lahore, but you don't know exactly what Lahore does.
Look, Lahore, here's what I've researched. A performance studies scholar, and he teaches, they teach, I don't know what they are. Gender and sexuality, dealing with the decolonizing drag. It is such a waste of money, and quite frankly, the Trump administration should not in any way close this deal with Harvard. They should pool the money. This is an outrage. This is exactly the sicko mentality of the left. And you know what? It's what the American people have projected, and why it's academics and Harvard, you can't take them seriously if they're pushing this performance studies scholar. What the heck is a performance studies scholar?
Yeah,
what is
well,
that?
You didn't know what ethnography was either. Mike, let me ask you a question here. You're a First Amendment scholar, correct?
Well, I don't know if I'm a scholar.
Okay.
I play one on TV.
Yeah, we're going to call you that. And I'm wondering, do you think that the federal government should go into universities and tell them what they should teach and who they should hire? Isn't that a First Amendment issue?
It could be, but I would say this. Why do Democrats always make everything?
So why is this Democrats? We're talking about Harvard University.
Well, I mean, it's all Democrats.
No, but nobody said that it's Democrats.
Leftist, whatever you want to call it.
It's a university.
Marxists, I would just say this. Why do Marxists always make everything about skin pigment, genitals, perception of genitals, and attraction to genitals? This is just bizarre. Why can't people go to Harvard and actually get real degrees so we can get real jobs and we don't have to keep subsidizing this nonsense?
But it is a First Amendment issue. You agree that?
It could be. It could be a First Amendment.
Now, Alex, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if the university's taking federal funding, I mean, you could get into issues there, but, you know, I feel like I'm not mature enough to be in this class because I would have a very hard time pronouncing my professor's name without giggling.
Kabchandani?
No, Dr. Lahore Vagistan.
I think that's her drag performance name.
Okay, well,
I'm assuming she's not going to teach classes.
I don't know. I would hope so. I mean, if the class is about drag, race, and desire, I think that you know the professor should show up.
I think it's still.
You are a professor.
It's still a First Amendment issue, and I'd be okay with it if that's what they decide to do. If they can teach effectively in drag, then teach effectively.
Well, they might feel like that's the best performance. You know, they might be very used to it. I will say, at least this isn't what they tried to do in Montgomery County, Maryland, with like preschoolers. The Supreme Court weighed in there and said, no, like what was it, the drag puppy book, where they were having us point out like the drag queen.
Well, we're talking about adults, though,
I know. That's why this is at least not as bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is university
the preschoolers,
students.
you know, that was where
adults.
I drew the line.
I got to say, I think that it's very culturally insensitive, given that there's a city in Pakistan named Lahore, Pakistan, and maybe they should sue or something. Maybe they've got some kind of a First Amendment issue in the Punjab, which is where you will find the city of Lahore, Pakistan. But now you can find Lahore, Vagistan in the Boston metropolitan area because Harvard just hired him, and he dresses funny and wears a bright orange wig, kind of like Jen Psaki's hair. But that's another discussion for another day. Coming up, holding it in while waiting in line for the bathroom at a baseball game could actually be good for you. We'll tell you why, but you're going to have to wait. Don't like waiting in line? Who does, really? But studyfinds.org, that's the name of the organization, studyfinds.org, has compiled research that shows that waiting, under those circumstances, is good for you. Listing the reasons why it's good for you, including it strengthens self-control. Yeah, sure, out of necessity, helping us resist short-term temptations in favor of long-term goals, like Lahore, Vagistan, and all of that. Simple pauses, another good practice to be in. Create space between impulse and action, and waiting can foster reflection, creativity, and better communication, even in everyday settings. The study also serves as a silver lining for New Yorkers who will be spending a lot of time waiting in line. Bread lines, for example, when Zohran Mamdani, the commie, is elected mayor of New York City. They're all looking forward to that, I think. But it gives you time to think and reflect while you're waiting in line.
There's no desire to wait in line. I want to go through the express lane, fast way to go, get to my destination, and then relax, be in silence, and,
I don't know why I go to the two women first, but I think...
I don't want to wait in line at the grocery store. That's pretty much where I draw the line. But I do think sometimes having a moment to pause and reflect is good. We run around so much that maybe that's a little break.
Well, we all do that. We're stuck in traffic. We can pause and reflect.
Yeah, I do not have patience for lines, so I'm with Mercedes on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it gives you time to reflect and think about things.
Yeah, I mean, in between segments, sometimes I don't want to wait. So, let's get that TriCaster roving and let's keep going.
Get it going. So a very impatient group. Well, this is Washington, D.C. We're not.
After you have 5 kids, if you have to wait in the bathroom, to wait in line for the bathroom, that's never a good idea.
So we were talking about this year.
You gotta go.
Especially potty
Except the porta potties, which we were saying were horrible.
Yeah, well, nobody wants to wait in line for that because eventually you get there.